said, many of you know that I've been on a journey, not one that I planned, not one that I dreamed of, but that's God, and that's just life. So December 6, 2016 will always be a month and a year that will have forever changed my life, my husband's life, and Mason and Miles's life. 2016, I turned 40. My mom is nagging at me. Did you get your mammogram? No, Mom. Not on the top of my to-do list. Continued. December, I make the appointment. I drive to Denver, which is a feat in itself because I don't drive in Denver. So Miles and I, we go. I go into the room. The lady says, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Fine." She's like, "Do you have any issues?" I'm like, "Oh, that's a loaded question because, well, I might have some issues, but we won't go there." I said, she's like, "Yeah, with the girls." And I said, "Well, yeah, kind of right here." And she put two fingers where I was pointing to, and she's like, "We're stopping right here." And I knew right then that I was in trouble. I knew. She said that she was going to go call my doctor. She was going to call the insurance. We had to do a 3D mammogram. I was like, okay. So I go sit back in the waiting room, and this whole time I'm praying. Not only was I white-knuckled praying coming to Denver because I'm scared to death driving, but now I'm really scared. And the voice in my head that I've heard for 2 years, yes, I had this lump for 2 years, and a doctor felt it 3 times in 2 years and said, it's nothing. Okay, I was scared. So I just remember sitting there, and on my phone every day I get numerous devotionals. So I have no other choice but to read that because I'm getting really nervous. So I read that, she brings me back in, of course, she sees it. I mean, you can feel it, you can see it. So she says, "We're gonna take you back and do an ultrasound." Okay, we go do the ultrasound. Sure enough, yep, they measure it, 5.4 centimeters, but they don't know that it's cancer yet. Okay, so they take me back into another room. This Bonnie, she's my nurse navigator, says, "In 1 week, we're gonna biopsy this. Or we can wait till after the new year." And I'm like, "I'm not waiting, there's no reason to wait. Let's just move on." So on December 20th, Stacy, Miles, and I, we go to Denver. I go into this room, and this lady said, "Well, we're going to do 2 biopsies." And I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute, 2, wait, why?" And she said, "Well, I'm thinking there could be lymph nodes involved." And I said, "But no, last week the guy told me there were no lymph nodes." And she's like, "Well, just to be safe, I want to biopsy him." And she's like, "Don't worry, I usually err to the side of caution. There's probably nothing." Okay, so whatever. So I'm laying there, and at this point I hadn't agreed to have the biopsy on my lymph nodes. And I don't know what this lady looks like because my eyes were shut, but I'll never forget the booming loud voice of this nurse. And this is the only time I cried. I'm laying on the biopsy table, and I'm thinking, God, what am I gonna do? I'm young, I have 2 little boys. This cannot be happening to me. And as I'm crying on the table, I'm saying this out loud. Like, what am I gonna do? I have 2 little boys, Mason and Miles. What? And this voice, as she's holding my arm, she's like, "Honey, this is not your death sentence. This is treatable. This is curable." Whoa, suck it up, buttercup. Dry the tears, and here we go, because that voice was booming. So obviously we biopsied the lymph nodes. I go home, and I didn't tell Stacy, I didn't tell anybody this, but that same booming voice that told me this, she whispers really loud in the room, "Does she know it's cancer yet?" Oh, okay, sure, so whatever. So that day, go home. The next day, it's the December 21st. I'm getting ready to go to Mason's school for his Christmas program. My phone rings. It's Sally Job. I get a pen. I go sit at my desk because I already knew. I knew. So the lady tells me, "Do I have a minute?" I said yes. So she tells me that the news isn't good, but it's it's cancer, but it's the best kind of cancer you can get. I'm like, oh, there's a good kind. Oh, that's interesting. So I was diagnosed with the most common cancer that you could have, invasive ductal carcinoma. And if anybody knows me, I'm going to do a lot of research. So I've been reading a lot on the internet, so I know what questions to ask. So I said, okay, what stage? You know, what's my grade? What's this? And she's like, well, we don't know all of that. We can just tell you that from what we know right now, it is staged at, you have a 5.4 centimeter. And I said, that's stage 3. She's like, it is. Like, okay, that's pretty, okay, all right. So I have 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes. I'm driving from home to school. I have to call Stacy. I have to call my parents, and I have to call my brother. I'm not crying. I'm like, hey, got the news, I have cancer. They're like, what? They're all crying, and I'm like, I can't cry now. I got to keep this together. I'm going to a Christmas party. So I get to the school and do the Christmas party. I have to tell the boys' teachers and principal because I have no idea what is going to happen. I'm on a journey right now that I have no control over, and which is hard for me because I'm a very controlling person and I like to be in control, but I just had to give up the reins. I had to give them up. And so this whole time I've just always prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and it's taught me a lot. You know, I get that phone call that night. We have a Christmas program, and at dinner that night, I have to tell the boys. I'm like, well, boys, I got the call today, and I have cancer. Oh. Mason's first question is, Mommy, are you going to be bald? I said, well, probably. He's like, can you please wear a wig? Got it, got it. Miles, on the other hand, he just knew that I was going to have surgery and they were going to cut them off. That's Miles' thinking. So we work through all that. I have my surgery. Before I have my surgery, I meet an oncologist that tells me that I'm going to have 20 rounds of chemo. 20 rounds of chemo? What? I've talked to a lot of people that have bigger tumors and whatnot. I'm like, that's pretty big. So I have my MRI the day before I go see this lady, and I said, can we just stop right here? Did you happen to get my MRI results? Because in the back of my mind, something's telling me, ask about your MRI results, ask about them. So she opens up the paper, yep, moving on. Oh, okay, I said, so the MRI results, yep, no change. Okay, so I was defeated. So we drive home, and on the way, I'm calling people about wigs and gonna, thinking I'm gonna do the chemo before I do surgery, blah, blah, blah. 2 hours later, the people from Sally Job calls me, the nurse navigator, and she's like, I'm so excited to share your MRI results. And I'm like, really? Why? They're not good. She's like, how do you know? I said, well, because I just sat in an oncologist's office who looked at it and told me that it's no big deal. She's like, really? I said, yeah, why? What's going on? And she said, well, it's kind of like we've never seen this before. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And she said that my tumor, when they did the ultrasound, they biopsied it, it measured at 5.4. It's now measuring at 3.6. I'm like, I just went from stage 3 to stage 2 cancer. And she's like, you did. I have not had 1 drop of medicine. I have not done a surgery. I have done nothing but prayed. I have had people here, at the boys' school, at my MOPS group. I've had people pray over me. My tumor's shrinking. I didn't even know what to say. I truly didn't. Besides, I think I need to go get a second opinion from an oncologist. And she's like, that you do. So I get off the phone, and I remember screaming, like literally screaming, this is a racket. What am I doing? What's going on? Cece's like, calm down. I'm like, no, I'm not calming down. This is my life. 20 rounds of chemo, and this oncologist couldn't tell me that it went from 5.4 to 3.6, and I'm from stage 3 to stage 2? This is huge. So I call my breast cancer surgeon, and I tell her, I'm like, I'm done. She's like, no, you have to be treated. I said, no, I am going to be treated, but I'm done with the oncologist, and I'm done thinking that I'm going to do chemo before surgery. She's like, okay, I'm on board with that. So I had already made another appointment with a different oncologist. So that Monday I go in and I speak to this man, and we're looking over the results, and he's like, wow, this is amazing. And I said, I understand that you're medicine, and I understand that there's probably a fine line. But I said, you know, something happened here. And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, I don't know that it's legal to talk about this, but prayer, the power of prayer, my faith. And he's like, you're exactly right. He's like, you're right. And I knew that this was the oncologist that I was going to go with. So I have my surgery. That in itself the surgery was easy, but as Reed was talking today about how sometimes in life, like Dave Tolley, myself, it's hard to let people in. It's really, really hard. And for me, that was probably one of the hardest things, was to let people in, to let people pray over me, to have people bring meals, to have my house cleaned. That was really hard. But along the way, it's taught me that, one, it has brought me closer to so many people that I had no idea. But it's taught me, too, that there's people that I've had in my life for some a short amount of time, some for a long amount of time. And I never knew where they were with their faith. I had no idea. But through this, I have learned that, wow, they do believe. They may not go to church, but they believe. And they pray. And the power of prayer is just that. So powerful. So 3 days after my surgery, my breast cancer surgeon calls me with my final pathology report. And keep in mind that I have yet to take any medicine. No medicine. I did have the surgery, so obviously the cancer was removed. The MRI results showed that my final tumor had shrank down to 3.3. No medicine. Just doctors couldn't believe it. They were in question that they thought there was 3 lymph nodes. There was only 1. So yes, stage 2 cancer with 1 lymph node. God really showed me that my faith was stronger than I thought it was. He showed me that, wow, I'm a stronger person. And yes, I had that lump for 2 years. But 2 years ago, I wasn't where I am today in my faith. And God knew that. God knew that I wasn't mentally ready to take cancer on. But I was at the time that I went to get the biopsy. So my story continues that I end up doing four rounds of chemo. Didn't lose all my hair, but I lost most of it. But the one thing that I never did lose was my smile. I never lost my smile. I never lost my positive attitude. Not once. Not once. Did I do that on my own? No. That was not, I didn't do that on my own. I couldn't. God was there. God was there every step, every single step. I was never alone. I never felt alone. God was there. And I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it without him. So I do my 4 rounds of chemo, and every time I went into the chemo chair, the chemo nurses were just like, you're just so amazing. You're so amazing. And this one day sat a lady. This was the second time that she and I were doing chemo together, and I could tell that she was really struggling. And the nurse kind of was like, she's struggling. I said, yeah, she is. So I just kind of talked to her, and I'm like, oh, we got this. We got this. Like, just pray about it. And the very next day I came in for a shot, and they're like, you should have seen her today. This was a woman who could barely walk. Life was so miserable. She hated life. She was walking, she was upright, and she looked like a brand new person. Now, whether or not it was me, I don't know. But I was able to share my faith with her to help her. So I do all this stuff, then it's radiation time. I didn't want to do radiation. I didn't think it was necessary. I had to meet with the radiation oncologist twice because I'm like, I think I'm being overtreated. I don't know. I don't think so. So obviously I pray about it, and I'm like, fine, let's go with it. I got this. This is going to be the easiest part of the journey. Yeah, I was not right about that. So I am doing radiation. My third day into radiation, I meet with the doctor, and she's like, so I gotta ask if you can sign some forms. Sign some forms for what? She's like, well, the device that we're using on you is something that has never been used before on breast cancer. Oh, so this bolus that they're using on me is something brand new, brand new. So they ask if I could sign some forms because they would want to interview me. Like, this is making national news in breast cancer world. Okay, fine. So I do my radiation, I do all my treatments, and radiation by far was the toughest, mentally and physically. And every single day, I had to do it for 28 days, every day, except on Friday and Saturday. Oh, and I got the 4th of July off. Every day, I laid there on this table thing that's probably about as, not quite as wide as our pew, hands over my head, and I lay there. Mentally, that was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. Because when you go to a doctor, you feel a shot, or they poke and prod on you, you don't feel anything. You're like, wow, this is weird. Something's going on, but I can't feel it. So for me to mentally get through that, every single day, when I got up on that table, I had to pray. God, please be with me. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Please, please hold me. Help me get through this, because it was hard. Not only mentally was it hard, but physically, I was in a lot of pain towards the end. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And they're like, you have to do this. So I finished my last day of chemo. They tell me, or radiation, they tell me that the newspaper's coming. So the newspaper comes, and as you can see, the boys and I, we get to ring the bell. And my boys are troopers. They're ornery, but at the same time, those two little boys, they came to all but 4 treatments with me every single day. Never complained, they just came with me. So not only was my journey something that I've never dreamed of that would happen to me, but I never thought that I would be able to be the light and share my faith, and for people to walk up to me and say, wow, you're still smiling, you have such a good attitude. I can share why. I can't say, yep, that's because I'm a rock star. Nope, that's not it. I get to share that I pray every day, and I get to share my faith. And in that, maybe I can be a light to somebody who doesn't have their faith, who doesn't believe. So it's just amazing the things that have happened. And along the way, I was invited to go to a cattle barons ball. The CEO of Banner was there that day that I rang the bell, and she's just like, it's just amazing to see the light that radiates off of you. Like, it was just amazing. And I'm just like, it's my faith. It's God. It's everybody that's prayed for me. I'm not in this alone. And so she just remembered that, and she's just like, we have to have a video for this big ball, and she wanted to have a special guest, and she chose me. So 2 weeks ago, I had to go shoot a video for this ball, and then I will go to this ball and sit with the CEO of Banner, and it's, again, I let go of the reins. I'm not in control of this journey. I have no idea what else is going to happen. I will take a pill for 10 years. I have to take a shot. But I know that I'm not alone, and I'm not scared, and I'm not afraid, because I have community. I have God, my faith. And you know, 2 years ago when I felt it, I didn't have that. And so God does see our faith. He sees our faith, and he knows what we can handle.